Good morning, afternoon, evening, and good dawn, my fellow kings and queens. This is your boy Cyphrix, and today we're covering the tank classes of one of my newest loves, World of Kings. World of Kings is a fantastic WoW-like mobile MMORPG that features true MMO features and a whooping 27 subclasses. It's a lot to go through. I'll cover the base skills and main classes, and then go over the details, synergies, and thoughts of their subclass skills to help you figure out which one is right for you. This is going to be a condensed version and I'm already sweating, so let's go ahead and dive on in.
Don't pause. Press play.
Alright guys, so to start this off, we're going to go ahead and cover the basic warrior class skills. The warrior is your traditional sword and board tank that generates and spends rage to taunt and attack monsters. Its normal attack is a regular sword attack that does about half your damage potential, but it generates 5 rage. You have a cleave that attacks up to 5 enemies in front and costs 30 rage. This is your traditional AoE spamming move. You have your shield bash, which is your first taunt. It generates rage as well and hits on par with cleave. It also interrupts spellcasting and has a short 6-second cooldown for good spammability. Earthquake is an AoE knockdown and silence. If you hit 3 or more enemies, the cooldown is reduced from 40 seconds to 20 seconds. Your ground stomp is an AoE ability that pulls in and slows enemies that it hits. Now, it's great for chasing, so that makes it PvP viable as well. It has a 12-second cooldown that generates rage. Your charge is a distance taunt with 20-second cooldown that also stuns. It breaks any movement impairments on you and generates good threat and rage as well. Then finally, you have your shield barrier, and this is your damage bubble. It absorbs 90% of damage that you take up to a certain limit depending on your level, and it lasts for 15 seconds. Now, it doesn't stack, you can't cast it multiple times because it only has a 6-second cooldown. It costs 60 rage, which is easy to build as well. If you recast it, you simply reapply the effect. Now, just looking at the cooldown and the effect duration, it's probably safe to say that this is something you should have up at all times. Your first warrior subclass, Vanguard, is a damage mitigation tank that benefits from crit rate to improve overall DPS with its skill Iron Strike. The Vanguard also benefits from a few skill synergies to reset cooldowns and negate rage cost to improve overall DPS and threat generation. The Vanguard's passive, Bloodbath, increases its defense and parry, while also giving Ground Stomp and Iron Strike a chance to reset your Shield Bash's cooldown. This goes back to what I mentioned with Iron Strike. Shield Bash on crit increases the crit rate of Iron Strike in addition to making it cost 0 rage. Vanguard also gets Challenging Soul, an AoE taunt that grants damage reduction to you, in addition to Blade Barrier, which increases your parry by 50% for 12 seconds. The next warrior tank class, Guardian, is an AoE tank who does well with numbers with 3 AoE damage abilities, a self-heal that gets better with more targets, and synergies that reduce rage cost for AoE. I also want to say he has slightly better defensive options, but that's just my opinion. Unlike the Vanguard, the Guardian keeps his cleave. From its passive, Combat Expertise, cleave also benefits from any successful dodge or parry, reducing the cost of the next cleave to 0 rage. This gives the Guardian something to rely on between Earthquake and Ground Stomp cooldowns. Your defensive options are improved by Might of the Mountain, which is a buff that doubles your parry, armor, and resistances for 12 seconds, in addition to making you immune to crowd control effects. This joins your charge as a movement debuff breaker in addition to providing more opportunities to parry and reduce cleave cost to 0 rage. While your shield barrier is 25% less effective, Reaping Blade provides a nice self-heal that heals you for 300% of your strength stat twice over 6 seconds. When your health is below 60%, it heals you for an additional 1200% of your strength, but doubles the cooldown. This is offset by resetting the cooldown if you kill a target with it, so it seems like Reaping Blade can be very clutch when fighting trash mobs and clusters and adds during a boss fight. Just be sure to toss it when at least one of the targets is near death, while your teammates are throwing in a lot of AoE, which is going to do most of the damage anyway. Our next class is Paladin, your tried and true Holy Knight class featuring self-heals, decent AoE, and a sturdy shield backed by a strong hammer or a sharp spear. Unlike Warrior, Paladin runs off mana like its mage cousins. Your auto attack is a little stronger than the Warrior, sitting at 90% base damage. Your first skill, Shield of Retribution, deals decent damage and bounces off 2 nearby targets, interrupting and silencing them. This generates high threat, has a 15-second cooldown, and costs 60 mana. Holy Shield Slam is a strong single target attack that generates high threat, buffs your armor and resistance by 300% of your strength stat. It costs 80 mana, and although it has a 16-second cooldown, the buff is stackable. More on that later. Hammer of Protection is your first AoE attack that hits up to 5 targets and grants you a defense buff called Righteous Protection. It only costs 10 mana and has a short cooldown of 4.5 seconds. Your first roll taunt, Holy Grasp, pulls a target to you from up to 16 meters away, doing moderate damage. This has a 30-second cooldown and costs 10 mana. Celestial Steed is a break-free move that summons a gold horse that boosts your move speed, armor, and resistances while granting you immunity from movement impairments. While active, you can also use Steed Charge to close gaps and CC targets. This has a 40-second cooldown and costs 10 mana. Your last move as a Paladin, Light of Recovery, is a nice self-heal which also damages foes around you. You heal for 1,250% of your strength stat and can heal for more depending on how much health you're missing. This has a 15-second cooldown and costs 108 mana. Templar is a graduate version of Paladin, building on its core skills and expanding on shield blocks and utilities to support your team. Your passive, Solar Knight, greatly buffs your defenses, giving you a flat decrease in damage taken and an increase in block rate and absorption. It greatly boosts your threat generation with synergies that decrease or reset your cooldowns. Your Holy Grasp now shaves time off your Holy Shield slams. Holy Shield Slam now has an additional charge, so that 300% armor and resistance buff can be stacked and extended. In addition, successful blocks have a 10% chance to reset Shield of Retribution for more AoE threat generation. Your passive also grants you invincible for 8 seconds when your HP falls below 20%. This has a 4-minute internal cooldown. Angelic Shield allows you to save a teammate under 40% health with temporary invincibility and a strong heal. Meanwhile, Sunburst and Brand of Justice provide 2 damage AoEs that debuff hit rate. Dragonrider is a radically different Paladin class that excels at PvP. Aside from Holy Grasp, Dragonrider trades all of its core Paladin skills for two-handed and dragon-themed magical attacks. It boasts many zero cooldown AoEs that have great utility, and it also uses a new resource in addition to mana called Holy Fury, which generates passively over time and recovers mana when used. This is at the cost of lacking natural mana generation in combat. Your first and core skill, Dragon's Flame, is a fire AoE skill that heals you for the damage it does, while it grants bonus armor and mana regen to allies standing in it. Auto attacks have a 10% chance to reduce the cooldown and cost of Dragon Flames to 0. Tail Swipe is your second AoE ability that hits additional targets when used inside Dragon's Flame. The Dragonrider gains 2 single target moves that buff as well as do damage. Crusader Strike, which heals you while buffing your armor and resistance, and Wing Strike, which gives you Dragon Aegis, a damage mitigation and haste buff that is removed after you take 10 hits. Celestial Dragon replaces Celestial Steed and maintains all the same armor buffs, movement buffs, and immunities. The Steed Charge is replaced by Conal Dragon's Breath, which damages and disorients enemies. You have an additional faster version of your dragon which flies, giving it better movement speed and unlimited breath, but its breath does not disorient. Dragon Riders also get 2 anti-magic abilities, Dragon Scale Armor, which heals and grants magic immunity, and Force Lock, which locks mana and interrupts casting. Battle Mage is a mage tank class that excels at crowd control. I won't cover its original skills as a mage because it only uses Dimensional Warp and Mana Maelstrom. The rest is all of its own. It runs off both mana and arcane power generated from some of its moves. Featuring a good mix of AoE, range attacks, and debuffs, Battle Mage is a great choice for PvP. First off, its passive, Wizard Armor, makes this mage into a tank by doubling its armor and granting buffs to both block and spell block chance. You get self-healing from moves like Draining Touch and Mana Maelstrom. Aside from Draining Touch, all of your moves are low damage AoE CC. Static Prison provides an AoE root and silence that generates the 4 arcane power needed for your taunt, shock, and grasp to stun. Arcane Storm is a great way to null out enemies for teammates by slowing them, weakening their damage, and slowing their attack and cast speed to nothing. Now to expand on Arcane Power. This resource is like a power cell that gives a passive boost and powers moves. You have your builders, Draining Touch, which builds 1 point, Magnetic Shield, which builds 1 point, Arcane Explosion, which builds 1 point, and Static Prison, which builds 4 points. And you have your skills that benefit from Arcane Power, like Draining Touch, Shock and Grasp, and Arcane Explosion. As you can already notice, some of these skills are in both categories. Shock and Grasp is the only skill that uses up your Arcane Power. Now each of these skills gains 30% more damage per point of Arcane energy you have at the time of casting it. Shock and Grasp becomes a stun after about 4 points. This turns the Battle Mage's typically low damage CC into spike attacks that can do some nasty damage and kill off whatever you're looking at. This is at the cost of drastically increasing the mana cost per cast at 100% per point. It's also worth noting that all tank classes get the same buff to parry, equivalent to 100% of their crit rate. And that's all I got, guys. I hope this info helped. Some of this is subject to my own opinion after reading and theorizing on skills and checking around on YouTube for other people's opinions. So now what do you think your favorite tank is? How do you like to use it? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. I plan to do this for DPS and healers, so please do well to subscribe and stay tuned. Take care. Hey guys, thanks again for watching my channel today. As a new YouTuber, I just want to take a second to let you know that without you, this dream of mine wouldn't be possible. As usual, if you liked what you saw or learned something, please like, share, and subscribe, and everything you do supports my dream of going full-time and serving the gaming community. Also, if you haven't already, drop to my Discord channel and say hi. I love the company and your ideas do help me improve. Peace and love, guys. Peace and love.